All right, what is up, everybody? It's Keith Hayden here with the Hayden Academy Collective Studios. I don't even know what I'm calling this. I need to call it something, but right now it's just the weekly update. But last week I did this little goofy cartoon thing, but I realized I really enjoy doing more of this long form, like actually taking time to dig into what I did, because taking direction from two guys that I look up to, the way they do their business, I really want to extract not only just what I did, but what I learned from what I did. And that's one of the things I've gotten very good at in these last few years is I'm not just putting stuff out, even though I'm running a creative business. Every time I'm iterating very quickly in how I'm doing things, how I'm thinking about what I'm doing, how I'm just existing in this entire ecosystem. And somehow I'm still here, even though I work pretty aggressively to create every day, to not only create, but now to do the business side of it. So if you are running a creative business or you want to run a creative business, especially if it's a solo creative business, because I feel like more and more it's going to be like this. I'm not trying to scale. I'm not trying to court venture capitalist money or anything like that. I don't not trying to get a small business loan or anything like that. I want to create a sustainable creative business. If that's you, then you found the right video. And I hope you subscribe to this channel for future updates and of course more of my creative work. So with that said, let's get into this because I don't even know how long this video is going to be. I'm just going to keep it rolling. Mistakes be damned. And I'm just going to talk about what I did last week. So last week, wife wasn't home. She had a work trip. So those weeks, it can be good and bad because I can enter into an unhealthy amount of work, but it wasn't as bad as it's been in the past. But because I had that time, I was able to complete the entirety of Hayden Brave, the audiobook. Now, let me explain something to you. I've mentioned this before online, and when I say it, I think people don't. They're either not hearing me or they don't understand what goes into creating an entire audiobook by yourself. But this includes, of course, sitting here and recording the entire fucking book. It's also the production of it. It's also the editing of it. It's also the publishing of it. And then I add another layer, which is the awareness marketing piece. And I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. But this was a pretty big project. Not as big as the book itself, but it still required dozens of hours of work. So here, let me break it down for you real quick. Recorded 9 chapters of raw audio. I'm guessing it was about 6+ hours of audio for the entire book, including the front and back matter. So of course that's the opening credits and that's the acknowledgments, extra books, whatever, all the other shit. And that all turned into about 4.5 hours of finished audio for the book. Why was this a big deal? Even more for me was that this was my very first official audiobook. I've done a lot of podcasts in the past, but producing audiobook is a little bit different because there's a little bit higher standards. You need to pay more attention to how you're producing it, especially when you're talking about Amazon, things like that. I also published through Findaway Voices too, to distribute to more audiobook distributors. Let's talk about what I learned from that entire process. So I think the first thing I wrote was even a small room treatment can help. I'm in a very echoey room. The houses here in Okinawa, in Japan, are very echoey. Everything is just solid concrete. My desk is metal and glass. The floor is tile. The roof, everything's just a hard surface. So if you don't know what that means, it means it's really bad for good audio quality. I don't have any studio treatment or anything like that. So I didn't get wise to this until like halfway recording the audiobook, which is I just set up I took our clothes drying rack. I rolled it over here. I put some coats and it looked pretty ridiculous, y'all. Put some coats. I put some shirts, a jacket, and then I just draped myself in a blanket. I looked like a fucking black Sith Lord. And I just read under that, and the audio quality was so much better in the back half of the book. So if you do buy the audiobook, then you'll definitely hear the difference. The second lesson was narrating nonfiction can be fun. This was the first long project that I've narrated for nonfiction. I've done a lot of fiction through my podcast, and I just have more fun with fiction, of course, because you've got the characters and all this stuff. But it was fun. I think it helped that it was my story, that I knew it very well, so it was easy for me to dial it up and crank it up here, and then go softer here, and then add those little touches that let you know that, hey, I'm the author that wrote this, but that's also me that's interpreting this as well, interpreting the story. So it can still be fun. The third lesson was, you don't need to have a fancy DAW to do this, digital audio workstation. Historically, I've used Ableton to do all of my audio recording, and Ableton's pretty heavy duty. It can do a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to music, but I found that Audacity was simpler. I was able to make sure that I was on target with my levels for ACX, and it was just quicker. The workflow was much quicker. It's quicker to export. It's quicker to add effects. Of course, you give up control. You can't see at your effects as easily, and it's harder to tell, but you're not putting a lot of effects. Once I learned the effects chain that I needed, it was just rinse and repeat. Same thing over and over again. And the last lesson was audiobook promotion is pretty hard. Maybe I'm just talking to the wrong people, but yeah, as I was doing my promotion, I gave up, because typically when I'm writing a book, I try and send something out every chapter that I finish, and this book is pretty short. So I was doing that for the first 4 or 5 chapters, and I was updating my blog post that I had kind of running to show people how to self-narrate and produce their audiobooks. And I just got to the point where I wasn't seeing much traction on anything. Like, the emails weren't really getting opened. The social media shit wasn't really getting clicks. And I just got kind of tired of it. So I was like, all right, fuck this. I'm just going to finish this. So that was about Wednesday last week, and I just mashed the gas to the end. I literally stayed up. Chapters 6 through the end were all recorded in one day, in under 12 hours. I stayed up until 4 a.m. on Thursday morning, Wednesday night, to finish the entire book. And I submitted it that morning, like around, 4:35 a.m. I submitted it to Find a Way and ACX. A lot of fucking work, but I'm proud of it. However it turns out is how it turns out. The book itself, predictably, has fallen off. My quick reign of glory over James Patterson, the legendary David versus Goliath. He was down, but man, he came and just smacked me across the fucking arena. And it wasn't just him. There were other titles too that have, because his book isn't due out until October 21st. James Patterson, if you see this, then I'm coming for you next time. Look out for me. But yeah, it didn't last, predictably. And of course, I moved on to other projects, which I'm going to talk about next. But that's the way it goes as a small business. You kind of have to focus on, I'll talk about this more later, but focusing on your marketing efforts and things like that, that's really important. You can't promote your entire back catalog at the same time. It's just impossible. And that brings me to my next project, which I'm so happy to be announcing. Sirius and Limnic Escape from Okinawa, the prequel to Sirius and Limnic, set here in Okinawa, is underway. I sat down for a couple of hours last Friday, I think it was, and I just made an entire list. And I can show you this list right here, the master plan of what I need to do. And yeah, it's a lot of shit. And I don't have a lot of time to do this. Maybe I have like 90 days or so. As you can see, I've done these top 2 things. Very annoying dealing with the website. And yeah, doing that. But the most important thing are the objectives up here. And here's what I'm trying to do with this story. Tell a prequel story write a thought-provoking story to make more people think about AI, because I feel like we're in this place where, just like a lot of stuff, you're red or blue, you're woke or not, you're have or have not. We have this very black and white thinking of way things are in society, and meaningful conversations around technology and things like that. They're hard to come by, and so really want to write something that speaks to that. And then just like in Serious and Limnic, this is not just about issues. This is about a personal story about a character from Serious and Limnic, one of my favorite ones, Lee Ma, and we're gonna get to see a young version of him here in Okinawa, and him dealing with this crisis of the self that many young people went through. I know I went through when I was younger. Of who am I really? Who am I trying to be? What do I want out of life? And we're gonna be telling that story. And then the most interesting thing is using AI to accelerate this process. I'll be honest, as much of I am pro AI, but I have been hesitant to use it on my flagship series, my most important series, Serious and Limnic. This is me crossing the threshold of not just using AI for like social media stuff or experimentation, but no, this is like a real series, and I don't want to fuck this up. I have a certain way I'm thinking about this, how I want to execute it. Um, I don't want to leave this to chance, but I'm taking that chance, and I'm introducing AI into my process, and I'm using something called Novel Crafter to explored Novel Crafter. I set up the account and I got everything ready. I hooked up the AI, and yeah, just waiting to start. And I'm very excited to see. I've heard nothing but good things from hardcore writers. And I did write up a little social media thread about my initial impressions of Novel Crafter. I spent a couple of hours working with it this past weekend. I will say it tends to be more for the hardcore writer. Like if you're just getting used to AI and all this stuff, you're not sure, I wouldn't. It's a little bit of a learning curve to understand how it works, how to prompt it, how to get what you want out of it. Because I've been writing with AI for over the past year, that it was still a learning curve for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing, hey, is it just as good for my process as it is for other people? And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. If you don't have a use case for a lot of this AI shit, then nothing's going to make you even want to try it, because you don't need it. But for me, as a creative entrepreneur, it makes total sense to at least explore it. And I put the lessons learned, remember when to let things go. I had a technical challenge with my website. I'll just show you my website real quick. So yeah, I had an issue with fonts, and I'm sitting here looking at this really nasty font that I really don't like on my blog. I put it on there as a promotional thing for Hayden Brave, but now it just seems to be stuck in this really hard to read military font, which was fine. That was kind of the thing I was going for. But long story short, I tried to change it back to a regular font. It didn't work out so well, and I spent a good, hour or two trying to figure out, how the fuck do I change this back? And then after a while, I kind of had this, I'd gotten to like a halfway solution to where, at least I changed the homepage back. And I was like, that's fine. I'm just going to leave it. And I think we can get caught up in these, I have to do it this way, especially that creative side comes in. It's like, no, I had a certain aesthetic I was thinking about. I had a certain type of feeling I wanted to do with the font and everything, and it didn't work out. And the entrepreneur side has to just come in and slap that guy and say, look, we don't have all day to do with this stuff. We got a lot of other stuff to do. So is this really that important? Can they see this shit? Does it matter? Not as much. So I let it go. I think that was a lesson that I relearned just this last week. Next thing, expanding the military game tech fiction universe. You probably just noticed now that, or if you've seen me on social media, or you follow my Substack or anything like that, you've heard me talking about this thing called military game tech fiction. What is it? It is my self-styled genre where this is how I'm telling stories. And it's essentially This is it right here. Human stories and military conflict featuring advanced technology told with concepts in video games. This is the genre that Sirius and Limnic should have been in. The original Sirius and Limnic, but it wasn't because I hadn't thought of it yet. I was trying to pigeonhole it into military science fiction, but neither of those designations work very well for Sirius and Limnic when I think about the story and the contents, the guts of it. Yeah, it just doesn't really fit. So I had to make something else up. And that's been really fun, defining this new genre, like really what I'm trying to say with it and what it's about. And you can go in and read these 10 core elements that I've come up with if you want. But this is basically the universe that I'm creating. So in that creation process, I'm writing microfiction stories to give windows into this universe and into this world. And I've written several of these actually, but I've only started recently publishing them and fleshing them out on my website. And this is the one I wrote yesterday, Squirrels and Sons. I love that title. But you can see I've got a little art right here, a little piece. And then the story here, and it's just microfiction, so it's not very long. And what I like about these is I'm getting these ideas from my personally designed story generator. So if you go here on my website to create a story, you'll take you to the military game tech fiction story generator. And I've set this up to where I can basically use a combination of my own creative instinct and then AI to bring these stories to life, bring these worlds to life in a very rapid pace. And it's been a lot of fun to see where these ideas go, from just the raw idea to the actual finished story. I just love that process. It's so much fun. And if you're interested in learning more about how to write in this genre or how I'm doing this, then let me know, leave a comment, or sign up for my email list. And I'm definitely going to be teaching this because it's a lot of fun. But building out these worlds has been a ton of fun. I get to practice some voice acting here. That was fun. And then my Japanese, because that's one of the goals of Sirius and Limnic Escape from Okinawa, is this is going to be a dual novel. So think Pokemon, an iteration of Pokemon, right? Red, blue, gold and silver, sword and shield, that type of thing. These are going to be complementary novels. One's in English, one's in Japanese, 2 separate stories, similar premise. It's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to this, bringing this to life. This is a capstone work of me living here in Japan, of all the years I've spent studying and living Japanese culture and all this stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, I've just set up a new YouTube channel called Military Science Fiction. I think it's just called Military Science Fiction, or Military Game Tech Fiction, channel. Chanaru. Yeah, here it is. It's all in Japanese, and this is where I'm posting Japanese videos. So if you're interested in hearing me improve my Japanese, right now it's just practice. It's just me practicing, but I'm trying to keep a streak going. You see, we got day 1, got day 2 today. I want to keep this going to where I get better, and then eventually, okay, we're going to start seeing some full, maybe produced videos on here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you follow along. The lesson learned from this, building out this military game tech fiction universe, is just how amazing AI can be with improving your creativity. And I think what it does for me is it just increases the rate of revelation, right? Of your creative ideas. Unlike in the past, right? When I wrote Sirius and Limnic, that was one idea, well, several ideas put together in one novel, but it took 1.5 years to really see that idea come to life. Whereas with AI, I can already get a vision within seconds. I can see what this might become, and then I can use my own creative instinct to take it to the next level and have the AI help me with the mechanics of, okay, writing this way. I've trained it to where it knows exactly how I like to write. So it's really more about the ideas, and that helps me focus on the storytelling, the emotion, the lesson that I want to put in. I'm not worried about this comma, this word, this period. I can still tweak those things if I want. It's a revolutionary way to create that I wish more people. And I know there's a lot of controversy around AI and blah blah, all that stuff. But if you look at it just as a creator and from the ethical, that word just has a nasty taste in my mouth because it's been just kind of corrupted for different reasons. But if you put that aside and you put the business stuff aside, just as a creator, if you are a creative business entrepreneur, which you must be if you're watching this video, or maybe you're just interested, then that's what I see AI as, or certain AI tools are, at least for that. So once again, if you want to know more about how exactly I'm doing this or more about my process, you're going to want to subscribe because I've got something special that I'm going to be putting together as I put Serious and Limbic Escape Okinawa together as I write it. You're not going to want to miss. Next is Justin Welsh Creator MBA. This is a course that I'm going through. Just if you're not familiar with Justin Welsh, I don't want to say he's famous. He's like social media entrepreneur famous. He's a social media entrepreneur within those spheres. And he came out with a course called the Creator MBA. And in this course, it's all about making a modern business based on the internet. Basically exactly what I've been doing. So I bought an early version of his course. And Justin Welsh is kind of funny because I don't think he has military experience, but he's got this military vibe of like, you need to pay the fuck attention to this. I've got experience. You don't. You might want to open your eyes and shut your mouth. That type of, he just has that vibe of like, damn, this guy could have been a drill sergeant. But he's a top-notch entrepreneur. He knows what he's talking about. And one of the things that I've gone through in the course is building a strong, unique value proposition, a UVP. So that's one of the first lessons or the first units. And I went through that, and that really helped me rewrite the copy on my website, which if you've been on my website recently, maybe you noticed that I've changed how I talk about it. And one of the things he talks about that I hadn't really thought about before is creating an enemy. And not in the sense of, they're coming to kill you, you're going to kill them. It's more like an enemy, a metaphorical enemy for what you represent. So for me, I chose my enemy it's remakes, it's reboots, it's all of these repeat stories that we've seen over and over again. And we've seen, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just came out last week or 2 weeks ago. Dune is also basically a reboot. I've heard it's good, but when these repeat stories continue being told and they continue dominating people's thought process and markets, then that leaves less room for more original stories that may be just as powerful, if even not more powerful than these old stories. So that's my enemy. And I didn't just make this up. I've been thinking this. This is why I started Hack Studios, Hayden Academy Collective Studios, because I wanted a place to tell my own original stories. And eventually I wanted to help other people, maybe like you, to tell your individual stories, your new stories. And so I talk about that, and I talk about that on my website. And this is so powerful when you get this right, because then other people are like, you know what? Yeah, I don't like remakes either. I'm kind of tired of it. I like the original Avatar: The Last Airbender. I didn't need the live action one. No, thank you. Then now we've got a movement going. And now we can squad up and we can both go off and fight that enemy together, or we can write original stories together. So I think this is a pretty cool concept that I'm glad I went through, and I'm doing other stuff with the course. The other lesson learned, I said my graphic design skills are getting crazy, because here we have, you probably didn't notice, but this is the new Hack Studios logo that I just created yesterday. And I just blue is really my favorite color. So I wanted to have a more colorful logo. I wanted to have it more clear as far as what is Hack Studios? What does it mean to people who aren't familiar with the brand? And then I'm really proud of this right here, plot like a pro. This is going to be a lead magnet that I'm coming out with very soon. And I made this myself. I designed this myself, and not bad, right? I'm really proud that I've gotten better at this, because I've made hundreds of designs, and maybe a lot of people don't notice them, but everything on my website I make myself, whether with AI or not, or on my own, or the website itself. Everything's made by me. So it's been a long road to actually get like this, because I don't have any formal graphic design training or anything like that. I just literally self-taught. So I'm very proud of that. All right, coming to the end. 2 podcast appearances came out this week. These are both podcasts that was on a couple of weeks ago. And one is on Wizpill. Shout out to Wizpill, man. The homie had me on, and we talked for almost a good 3 hours just about technology. If you want to hear my philosophy on AI and how I think about it, like in depth, you should listen to that podcast. It was just a good conversation. He's a really smart guy, and he just knows a lot about a lot of things. He's one of those guys, well-read. It was an enjoyable conversation. And then I was on homeboy Gabe's podcast. Gabe had me on last month, and it was just a really chill talk. Gabe's really laid back, and we talked about travel. We talked about creator mindsets. I think that's a good one, especially if you're more at the beginning and you are just starting, or you're thinking about, how do I think about social media? How do I think about myself in this landscape? Maybe you're coming from a 9 to 5, or you have a side hustle and you're wanting to go pro like I have. Then I think this is a good one. And then I talk about why I hate food on there. That was a funny one that I don't think I've ever talked about on another podcast. Shout out to you, Gabe. Thanks for having me on. This week, I'm planning on moving slower, just because last week was a grind, and I am actively resting. This is active rest. Tomorrow's my birthday. So, yep, birthday is tomorrow. Doesn't really mean anything. It's just, I'm probably going to do the same thing I do on every other day. But it's just, hey, I'm happy to see another birthday, feeling good, feeling healthy, really just happy about, I don't know, just happy about everything. Happy about you being here, watching this. Happy about this business that I really feel like that I'm building this business in a way that's sustainable for me. I'm not trying to go too fast. It's becoming the exact lifestyle business that I want, to where I can create, but I can put it down if I need to or if I want to. Last thing that I wanted to touch on is, it's March, and I've written an entire book. I've made maybe $500 or something like that. Not a lot of money, but hey, that was the goal at the beginning, was to make more money from this. My Japanese has improved, and I've completed the audiobook, and I'm starting another project. Bottom line is, I've gotten a lot of shit done this year so far, and we're only 3 months in. I was thinking more about why more people don't finish products or finish projects, and I think it's just because we get so distracted by everything else. So I would, if you're in this situation where you are having a hard time finishing things, then I would ask you to think about, how are you spending your time? Even those micro moments, especially with social media, because the switching cost, I just think about a typical scroll on something like TikTok or X, Twitter. You're literally going from somebody talking about the war in Ukraine to somebody complaining about a TV show that they hate. It's that big of a switch every time that you're engaging with these things. You don't realize that you're getting worn down. And I'm not saying I never do this. It's hard to not do that, especially as somebody who's going on and talking about my own work. But that's been the only way I've been able to focus, is to really get a hold on that and control that. And you can do the same thing too if you're wanting to see more results. And then finally, I said come up with a sustainable awareness pace. And I use the word awareness because I realize like the word marketing and advertising to somebody who is not in those fields, it's kind of an annoying word because everybody tells you to do it. They don't tell you how to do it. And then when you try and do it, it doesn't seem to do anything. And it sucks. It's really hard in the beginning. It's still hard for me, even though I sort of have a system to figure it out. And my advice to anybody who's trying to get their creative work seen, because you have no choice but to get more awareness out there after you finish something. You just have to, if you're serious about getting people to engage with your work and you're not just making it for yourself. And if you're making it for yourself, then you probably wouldn't be watching this video. But you have to come up with a cadence for when you're going to talk to people, whether that's once a month, once a week, every time you finish a significant step, whatever it is. You have to find that for yourself, because whatever you decide to do, you need to force yourself to do it. That's the only way it gets easier and it gets faster, is to force yourself to do it every time. That's the only way it's worked for me. When I force myself, okay, I'm going to make a video every day this month. I did that last year. Then that helped me get better with videos because I was very slow on videos. But now that I feel more comfortable putting up videos, and I already felt comfortable being on video, but it was really the technical piece and getting the reps in that I had to get over, which was, the whole, what are my thumbnails and uploading videos, and then how do I cut them apart if I want to share it on social media? How do I subtitles? What about graphics and things like that if I want other stuff? It's all these technical pieces that I can tell you a million different ways to do it, but they don't really matter as much as you getting used to some type of workflow that works for you to actually make it happen. That's the only way it happens. So that's all I wanted to say. That's going to do it for this weekly update. We'll see how this goes. I don't even know how long this is. Oh, it looks like it's 30 minutes. That's more or less of what I expected, but I might be doing these more often, doing it this way. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Because I feel like there's a lot of people are talk about growth on social media. A lot of people just talk about scaling and all this stuff, but I don't see a lot of serious creative business people talking about, okay, I just want a big enough business. I was going to say good enough, but you want your business to be the best as possible, but a big enough, big enough fun, big enough revenue, like it's actually making a sustainable money that's helpful. But I don't want to be a full company to where I have this whole studio and I have a bunch of employees I've got to manage. I was in the military. I feel like I did enough managing. I'm not really. That's another reason why I don't collaborate with anyone, because I don't feel like keeping tabs on you, where you at, what's going on. Like, I would collaborate if somebody was like at the right speed and had the same objectives, but I just haven't really found that. So I would prefer not to. I just enjoy creating the way I create, what I create. I've got a nice flow, and that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to find that in your business, in your creative practice, whatever you're trying to do. I want you to be able to find that middle volume that allows you to keep making gains and growing as a creator, but then it's also sustainable. It's also lets you provide for your family, lets you feel a little bit more comfortable. And I don't think anybody doesn't want that. So if that's you, subscribe to the channel. And if you like this format, let me know, because I might do this again next week if it's popular enough, because I don't want to go back to cartoon Keith. Dude had weird hair. Brother was like, your hair looks well coiffed. I just thought that was funny. Anyway, thanks for watching this thing. If you stuck around to the end, I'm Keith Hayden. You can subscribe to this channel. You can also find me mainly on X at KH_author, but I'm on other platforms as well. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Substack. And if you're interested in learning how to write a novel right now, especially write with an AI assistant novel, then join the email list, because I'm going to be making a powerful resource for you that's going to help you accomplish that goal. Thanks for watching. See you next time.